Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your favorite nugget, Ari, and today's video is a collab with Twintorials, Rachel and Victoria, and basically we're recreating each other's looks. So I'm doing a look from their Instagram. I'm also going to be talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender because I have some thoughts and feelings. It was one of my favorite shows growing up, so hope you guys enjoy hearing me talk about that as well. Hey guys, today's video is a collaboration with Twintorials, aka Rachel and Victoria, where we are recreating each other's looks. And I'm going to be doing this look from one of the twins. I'm so sorry. I still really can't tell y'all apart. I'm sorry. Just as soon, because honestly, it's like just as soon as I think I can tell them apart, I can't. But yeah, so this video, I'm recreating this look. I'm going to be using a lot of different stuff, some new, some old, trying new things. And I'm also going to be talking about season 1 of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Oh my gosh. It's taking forever to get this stuff out of here. It's like they don't want you to use it. This is a pore refining primer from Il Maquillage. And it's my first time using it, so we'll see how it affects my makeup. It feels very smooth and slippery on the skin. I actually find that I kind of don't like pore filling stuff. Like the e.l.f. poreless putty, I'm not actually a fan, surprisingly enough. So because I don't like how it feels, it just feels so slick. I'm going to powder real quick. All right. So let me bring my notes over because I'm on context. I can't see. Ooh, I'm running out of my Relevancy stick. Oh no. As most of us probably know, Avatar: The Last Airbender is on Netflix. As a person who literally said in one of my last videos, I absolutely love anime, and I love anime inspired content. I won't get into that whole debate about if Avatar: The Last Airbender is anime or not doing it, whatever. But so obviously, because this, one of my favorite shows of childhood, is on Netflix, I have to rewatch it. I didn't live tweet it. I thought about it while watching it, and I was like, nah, let me just like experience it. But I did come like towards the end of the show, or the end of the first season. I was like, dang, I should have been live tweeting this. Obviously, like when you come back to something you watched and loved as a kid, sometimes you come to realize it's really not as good as you think it is. And yeah, there's aspects of the show that are really not that, oops, that was a lot. There's aspects of the show that are not that good. The animation was really wonky, at least in the first season. I feel like that's a budget thing. I mean, it's the first season of a show, completely original work. You know, they probably didn't have like a huge budget. So, you know, the animation was a little, and also it was a different time, you know? So the animation was a little like, at times. But the fighting, like you can tell that like there was, okay, like for the everyday regular stuff that they do, like it's kind of whatever. But they, like with the fighting animations, they spared like no expense. Like it is still some of the best fighting animation, as far as like how unique and fresh it is. So the fighting animation, all the fighting scenes are really, really good. So that's like a nice thing to like still see after all this time, or now I guess to notice more so and appreciate now that I'm older. Speaking of stuff being a little wonky, can we talk about like how cheesy the dialogue gets sometimes? And like I get that, like, I mean, obviously they're not going to be like, it's not going to be like the most sophisticated dialogue. It's the first season. It's a kids show. Like it's not going to be, you know, some kind of great work. It's not going to be like Thoreau wrote it. Some of the dialogue is really like, girl. That being said, it is put in such a simple way that I think is part of what makes it really good for kids. Because, you know, obviously it's a kids show. They're going to have conflict. And I like the fact that they showed that they try to show kids how to solve those conflicts in a healthy way, which is really nice. And I guess maybe I appreciate that because I work, like currently, like I work in education, and that's a big thing as part of the curriculum, like teaching social, emotional, basically enhancing kids' emotional intelligence. But yeah, some of the ways they solve these issues is really cheesy at times. Another thing about this show is, like, obviously as somebody who's watched the whole entire show before, and you know, a major thing that's talked about is the characters and their growth, especially Zuko. But it's crazy seeing like the seeds of that growth, like seeing that all the way in season 1. Like, didn't even notice it at the time, but these character arcs were set up from the jump, and it's kind of crazy seeing that. It's really interesting. I like it. Zuko, for example, was already experiencing his kind of like turmoil, his inner struggle between wanting to help the Avatar versus wanting to capture the Avatar to restore his honor. And Katara, like, people don't really talk about Katara. I want to talk about Katara. Because she comes across, like, when you're watching the show, as such, like, what's the term? I think it's Mary Sue? It's not necessarily the case. She's a good kid. Like, she's a good kid. But she has her moments where, like, she gets a little spice in there. She's like, okay, like, get your life. And then also you can see almost her little bit of a mean streak, in a sense, that not necessarily mean streak, but, and not necessarily an abuse of power, but, I can't explain it. It's kind of like a mean streak / abuse of power, but it's not quite that. It's very easy to dislike Aang because of his childishness, but, excuse me, you really see, especially because, you know, our first introduction is the fact that he abandoned the world. Like, he abandoned everybody. So it's like, dang. But when you see how now he's rising to the occasion and he's responsible and things of that nature when he needs to be. And then the other thing is, like, yeah, he has this huge responsibility, but he's still a kid. Like, that's how any kid would probably react if they were being told that everything that they love was going to be taken away from them, changed. They'd run away. Like, that's a lot of responsible for a kid to hold. So, also Aang's emotional, like, how emotional he is. Because he lets himself feel his emotions. So, like, Aang definitely has emotional intelligence. Fantastic. Love that, honey. He has emotional intelligence. And the fact that he's always been allowed to feel his feelings, and then a later plot point becomes he has to detach himself from everything and almost, in a sense, not necessarily be emotionless, but be able to really separate his emotions from stuff. Like, that's something hard for a child to do, especially, like, for a child, number one, and then in a year, icon. I love him. That one of the best boys, the best emotional best boy blueprint. Last video, or not last video, but the Beastars video, I talked about getting the robot. They have a whole video about, like, the emotional soft boy shonen main character, Aang, period. Now, I talked briefly about Zuko and his whole character arc and him changing and all that stuff. And it's easy to want to hate Zuko because he's the villain. Like, obviously, for first season, he's the villain. But you still kind of, I guess more so as an adult, because prickly characters are always fun. You know, he's a prickly character, so obviously you're like, he's so angry boy. But I think part of what makes him lovable, especially when he's being the way he is the fact that Iroh loves him. But the fact that Uncle Iroh, like, loves Zuko, it's like there's something about him that we should and could, or that we can and should care about. Because there's this character, this super lovable character that was a lot of contour. Girl. Okay, anyway. We have this really lovable character, and we have this character who it's so easy to hate. But this lovable character loves the hateable character, treats him like his own son, cares for and values him. There's something worth liking in this boy. And like I was saying, like how Zuko's struggle with, you know, doing what's spiritually right versus what is allegedly right due to, you know, his whole father thing, it's shown so early on, because like he's begging for his father's forgiveness, his father's acceptance. Zuko literally just wants his father's acceptance, but by wanting his father's acceptance, he's doing what he knows, what he feels in his heart and his soul. He feels and knows that it's wrong. And so he's been struggling with that the whole time. And I feel like we see that when the Blue Bandit happens. Because it's like, I mean, yeah, he saves Aang for selfish reasons. But if you really think about it, it's almost like the catalyst. And I don't want to go into season 2 stuff. Because number one, I'm not finished rewatching it. And number two, I'm trying to wait to do so I have more content to make. Period. The other thing about Zuko and Iroh, like their whole father-son dynamic, is that we see Zuko like being tender with Iroh. Like Iroh, when Iroh's in the hot springs and he's like, "Uncle, you don't hear me calling you, we trying to leave." And then he's like, "Oh, well, you know, let me get out the hot spring." He's like, "You know what? Take your time. I'll be back." Or no, you be back in 30 minutes. His uncle didn't come back. He didn't just leave without him. He went and looked for that man and went on a search to find him and get him back, you know? You see him be tender with Uncle Iroh. So you see him be soft. Like, he's able to be soft and vulnerable because that's the person he trusts. He trusts Iroh. Thank goodness he, like, basically just, thank goodness Zuko has someone in his corner and to guide him. That's all I gotta say, child. Oh my god, my base is a hot mess. See, this is what happens when you don't use milk hydro grip. Speaking of Iroh, Iroh is he's somebody's queer bisexual icon. Specifically mine. But he's some kind of not straight. I just feel it in my soul. I feel it in my soul. I feel it. Like, you just know. You just know. Iroh's not straight. Like, yeah, he had a wife and, you know, they had a son. But, like, nah, Iroh's not straight. And I'm going to officially claim him for the pansexuals. Thank you. That's ours. Oh, and speaking of Iroh, like, not being straight, can we talk about that pirate who also was not straight? Like, come on, that man had on lip gloss. His hair was long. He had his hoops with his headband. Well, it's probably more like lipstick. He was not straight. That pirate wasn't straight neither. Isn't there some kind of like cultural joke about gay pirates? Maybe that's why they put him in there. I'm pretty sure there's like some kind of joke, like a cultural joke about gay pirates being gay. So, Okay, so my camera turned off at the very beginning, honestly, of me attempting this whole faux bleached brow thing. I'm not 100% mad at it. I'll have to play around with it some more. And I think I'll like it better when my hair is more platinum, because I feel like my hair is really, really warm. And these brows are very cool toned. But yeah, so far the brow isn't too bad. So let's get on to the look so I can finish my comments here. This is going to be a doozy of a look, you guys. With one of the first palette I'm using. Ooh, child, fall that essential honey. Actually, I'm going to do this step first. And then I'm going to get back to the commentary. Because I'm scared. I saw a Twitter post talking, like, about the character June. Since she pops up in the show. Basically, June is if you haven't watched the show, which I don't understand how or why you haven't, it's 2020. The show came out when I was a wee child. But she's a bounty hunter, basically. And Zuko enlists her to help him find Aang. They were talking about, like, wow, everybody on Twitter loves goth girls, but, like, why aren't we talking about June? And it was like, because June and it's like, I totally understand, fashion icon, cultural reset. We always got to have at least one goth girl for the culture. However, why was she whipping her sheer shoe like that? Like, that was so excessive. Like, what was the reason? What was the reason? What was the reason? What was the reason? With the women in the show, like, I just don't know how they deal with the misogyny. Like, literally, episode 1, Katara calls Sokka out for, like, his BS. But, like, sis, like, how do you deal with that, like, day in and day out? Basically, most of the section we see is Katara because she's the main girl in the show. Like, between Sokka and then Aang being a tool at that one island that they were at. Aang was being a total tool. So Sokka and the Kyoshi warriors, like that whole thing where he was basically underestimating them because they were girls. But Sokka and the Kyoshi warriors, like how basically they like they told him what's what, and he had to say okay. When Katara went to try to learn waterbending from Paku, and he was like, women don't learn waterbending in our tribe. Like, boy, if you don't. Like, that was really, really wild. But I'm glad, like, she was able to help change that. But yeah, like, that, like, was just like, women don't learn waterbending in our tribe. You disrespected my culture. Your culture is misogyny? Like, come on. You can go to the healing hut with the women. And I think it also, like, it really shows, like, how easy it is for kids to adopt that behavior, too. Because the guy who Yue is, and we're going to come back to Yue, child. But the guy who, like, Yue is engaged to, he's a total tool. And I think it's because their tribe doesn't value women as much. Even they should. Not to say they don't value women as much. It isn't as apparent that they value women, you know? And then, speaking of the misogyny on the show, little girl, they're always calling her a little girl before she whoops they behind. She be whooping they butts. And they're like, oh, little girl. Like, little girl this. Punk. Like, just as soon as you think that she's a Mary Sue, like, she does something, like, yes, Miss Ma'am, and she keeps, like, lets you know that she's that girl. Like, an activist, a humanitarian, like, living for the brown worlds. Like, really? Like, don't sleep on her. And she's a powerful bender. She's probably an Aquarius. Like, she's probably an Aquarius. And I'm not only saying that just because I'm an Aquarius, but, like, sis is probably an Aquarius. We live. And I know that, like, we, as, you know, young people, we talk a lot about trauma and getting over our trauma so that we don't cause generational trauma, things of that nature. And this show really tackles that a lot. Like, I'm sorry, Prince Zuko was literally emotionally abused, okay? And he has some things that he needs to work through. And that's okay. And he's working through those things. He's working through those things. He's working, okay? He's working through it. Sometimes he shouts at the world because he's trying to gain the acceptance of his abuser, and then he's like angry at the world and all kind, like, he's figuring it out, okay? Be patient with him, please. I don't want to hear any Zuko slander. I don't want to see Zuko slander in the comments. And even though we're not at this point yet, I don't want to hear Korra slander either. I'll figure out how to block you if you slander Korra, I promise. Todd, I'm looking at you. So many of us watched this show that is so very much about, you know, getting over our problems, talking about our problems, showing us that talking about said problems is okay. Yet we still are really bad communicators. Like, wow. But you know what? We're working on it. And basically, I'm pretty much finished talking about the show. Like, if you haven't seen Avatar: The Last Airbender, I don't know what you've been doing for like the past, like, what, 10 years of your life? You've had so long. And actually, I'm really just kidding. I was just talking to my cousin about it. Because I know sometimes, you know, you hear about a show after the fact, but it's already, like, been running for so long. So you're like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing here? So I get it. But now, I mean, most of us aren't doing much of anything. Go watch it. It's a timeless classic. You won't regret it. Like, it's such a crazy time, and it's like a lot of us, we have a lot of time on our hands that we definitely didn't anticipate on having. So if you want to do, like, I'm not going to sit there and say that you should have started up your own fortune, however many hundred, I don't know, like, the proper business terminology. I'm not saying that you need to have started your own business while you're in quarantine, but if there's something you want to do it, you know? Yeah, this is so crazy. I haven't done like a super colorful look in a while. Like, it's been like maybe 2 colors at most. And I'm here with like a whole bunch. This is kind of wild. It's kind of fun though. I haven't done this in a while. So it's nice to switch it up. I lied. I have another thing to mention. I'm like actually stupid. So remember at the beginning I was talking about how, like, even though the quality of the animation was kind of like questionable at times, it was still like the show still, you know, was really, really good or whatever. And I don't know if you guys know, there's like a running joke. There's a running joke between like lovers of animated television series about like the budget. Because if you notice, like, there's shows where it's like you'll be watching it and there's like moments where the animation is like extra wonky. Basically saying that they skimped on the quality of animation because they're running out of budget, like money in their budget. So the animation budget, they saved the whole budget for that scene in the season finale where Aang and the ocean spirit like become one and they go and wreck everybody's life. That's what the budget was saved for. Which, granted, it's a great scene. And it demonstrates Aang's tremendous power. He's not even at full power yet, and he's that powerful. Also, that scene gave me very, like, Prince of Egypt. They had to, like, do special stuff so that they wouldn't be affected by the bad things happening. I'm not sure the actual, like, proper term, so that's why I'm just, like, being really general with it. Yeah, Aang has a lot of power, and with great power comes great responsibility. But, like, nah, for real, like, the kid has a lot to deal with. I hope you see it. I hope you see it. Y'all remember that? That was, like, a whole, like, little song or something. But it was, like, I know you see it, but, like, I don't remember what that is from. Like, I just remember people singing it. So no one's complained about it because obviously, like, no one finishes watching my videos. Barely. There's a couple people. But for the most part, nobody really is checking for me like that. But I will post the, I'll put the products I used in the description in case anybody wanted to know. I used a couple different palettes today. That's the one thing about, like, doing colorful looks that's really nice. Like, you end up using a lot more of the products that you have. It's so wild, like, seeing myself with really colorful eyeshadow again because it's been a while. This is so crazy. I kind of miss this. I'm back with my lashes, my gloss, and I like how it turned out. It's cute. Hope you guys enjoy it. Definitely go and watch Rachel and Victoria's video. I'm gonna link it. I'm gonna link their video and all their socials down below. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed their video. And yeah. watch Avatar: The Last Airbender again or for the first time. Either way, watch it. Okay? Watch it. Just watch it.